"Oh, finally, my love. We can have everything all to ourselves now." Felix laughed loudly as he held Ruth tightly in his arms. His laughter filled the hospital room, cold and heartless. "My obstacle wife is finally gone," he continued, shaking with laughter. "The day of her funeral will be the happiest day of my life." Ruth smiled, resting her head on his chest. Their relationship was no longer a secret. "But babe," Ruth said softly, pouting her lips, "what about the children? I don't want kids around us for now." Felix waved his hand carelessly. "Don't worry about them. I've told you many times, they won't be a problem. Once the funeral is over, I'll send them to my mother's house. Then the place will be ours alone." They laughed again, hugging each other closely, lost in their selfish joy. Felix completely ignored the woman lying helplessly on the hospital bed right in front of him. Rose, his wife of 7 years, the woman who had given him everything. Rose lay unconscious, her body weak and lifeless. Tubes were connected to her, and medical machines beeped every second, struggling to keep her alive. Doctors had already spoken to the family. Her condition was critical. They said she could only remain on life support for 30 days. After that, the family would have to decide what to do next. But before Rose got to this tragic state, let us rewind a little. Rose was a beautiful 35-year woman. She was hardworking, humble, and kind-hearted. She owned 5 successful companies in Lagos, yet she never allowed wealth to change her. She treated everyone with respect and always put her family first. Rose loved her home deeply. She was married to Felix, the man she trusted with her life, and together they had 2 beautiful children, Anna and Prince. Despite her wealth, Rose never wanted a nanny. She cooked, cleaned, and took care of the house herself. No matter how tired she was from work, she always made sure her family lacked nothing. Felix, on the other hand, never wanted to work. Since Rose provided everything, he stayed at home every day eating, drinking, and sleeping. One day, Rose suggested that he manage one of her logistics companies instead of staying idle at home. Felix tried. After just 3 days, he gave up. "The work is too stressful," he complained. "Babe, please just continue taking care of the family. We're already rich. I don't need this type of stress." Rose felt hurt, but she had grown used to Felix's laziness. She chose to overlook it, believing peace at home mattered more. What Rose did not know was that Felix was hiding a dark secret. He had a mistress, whenever Rose went to work. Felix brought the woman into their home. They laughed loudly, ate the food Rose prepared, and enjoyed the comfort she paid for. Felix even took the woman on shopping sprees using Rose's ATM card. All this happened while Rose worked tirelessly, unaware that betrayal was slowly growing inside her own home. Rose had noticed the late-night phone calls. She noticed how Felix always turned his phone away from her, how he smiled at messages, and how he stepped out to answer calls in hushed tones. Deep down, she knew something was wrong, but Rose chose peace. She ignored everything. One evening, after closing from work and picking up the children from school, Rose decided to stop by a supermarket to buy groceries. She parked the car and left the kids inside, then walked in, pushing a cart slowly as she picked items from the shelves. That was when she saw him. Felix. He walked into the supermarket holding hands with a young woman who looked no older than her 20s. They were laughing softly, close and comfortable, like lovers with no fear. Rose froze, her hands tightened around the cart. Her heart skipped painfully. For a moment, the world around her went silent. She wanted to scream. She wanted to confront them, but she didn't. Rose pulled herself together. With shaking hands, she finished shopping, paid for the items, and walked out calmly like nothing had happened. As soon as she entered the car, she picked up her phone and called Felix. "Hey babe," she said gently, forcing her voice to sound normal. "How are you doing?" "I'm good," Felix replied. "And you?" "I'm fine," Rose said. "I'm on my way home. I just wanted to know. Are you at home?" "Yes babe, I'm at home," Felix replied without hesitation. Rose nodded slowly, though she knew he was lying. "Okay. "See you soon," she said and ended the call. Her heart burned with pain and betrayal, but she swallowed it all. When she arrived home, what she saw shocked her. Felix was sitting comfortably on the couch, watching television like nothing had happened. You're at home?" Rose asked, staring at him in disbelief. "Yes, babe," Felix replied casually. "I told you on the phone that I was at home." Rose's head began to spin. How was this possible? Was it really Felix she saw at the supermarket, or was her mind playing tricks on her? That night, as she cooked dinner, her thoughts raced endlessly. Questions filled her mind, but she said nothing. She chose silence. Rose grew up without a father figure, and she knew how painful that life could be. She didn't want anything that would push Felix away from the marriage. She convinced herself that enduring was better than breaking her home. "All men cheat," she whispered to herself. "As long as he is a present father, it's fine." So Rose carried on. She continued to carry the family while Felix did almost nothing. Even when Rose became pregnant with their third child, she never slowed down. Every morning, she woke up early to make breakfast, pack the children's lunchboxes, bathe them, dress them for school, and drop them off before heading to work. Most days, she was exhausted, but she still refused to get a nanny. Only her personal assistant, a young woman named Joy, sometimes helped her run errands. One afternoon at the office, Rose suddenly felt weak. Her eyes blurred. The ground seemed to spin beneath her feet. She quickly drank a glass of water and felt slightly better, but something didn't feel right. She decided to go to the hospital. At the hospital, the doctor ran several tests. When the results came back, the doctor's voice was calm but serious. "Madam, we need to perform an emergency C-section immediately. Your blood pressure is critically high, and the baby is in distress. For your safety and the baby's, we cannot wait." Rose was confused. Her first two children were not delivered through C-section. Why now? But even more troubling to her was something else. Who would make dinner for her family? There was no food left at home. "Doctor," Rose said softly, trying to remain calm, "can't this surgery wait a little? I need to inform my family. I also need to make dinner for my children tonight. I have no one to do it." The doctor tried to explain how serious her condition was, but Rose wasn't listening. All she could think about was her children. "Please, doctor," she insisted. "Just give me a few hours. Let me settle my family. I promise I'll come back by evening." The doctor tried again to stop her, but Rose's mind was already made up. Rose tried calling her husband, Felix, to pick the children up from school while she quickly went to the market. Her calls rang again and again, but Felix didn't answer. What Rose didn't know was that Felix was busy having lunch with his mistress, Ruth. With no other option, Rose called her personal assistant, Joy, and asked her to pick up the children from school. Rose then hurried to the market to buy food items so she could cook dinner for her family. She bought everything she needed, but as she walked toward her car, her vision suddenly became blurry. The ground began to spin. Before she could call for help, Rose collapsed to the floor. Market women screamed and rushed toward her. A kind elderly woman quickly stopped a taxi. Together, they rushed Rose to the nearest hospital. It turned out to be the same hospital she had visited earlier. Doctors and nurses immediately rushed her into the theater. Everyone tried their best, but it was too late. The baby suffered severe distress and did not survive. After the emergency C-section, Rose slipped into a coma. Meanwhile, Joy picked up the children from school. She waited for hours, but Rose never called and never returned from the market. She felt something was wrong. She tried calling Rose, and this time, a nurse answered the phone. The news shattered her. Joy froze, holding back tears. She cooked dinner for the children. After they ate, she gave them a night bath and tucked them into bed. Then she hurried straight to the hospital. The moment Joy entered the hospital room and saw her madam lying unconscious on the bed, tears rolled down her face. She called Felix again and again until he finally picked up. Joy told him everything that had happened. To her shock, Felix didn't bother coming to the hospital that night. He came the next morning, looking calm and unbothered. Joy sighed deeply. She had always known Felix never truly cared about Rose. She had seen him in different places with different women. But she stayed silent because she knew her madam loved her family and would never allow anything to break it. Weeks passed. Rose remained in a coma. The doctors said her chances of recovery were very low, but Joy never gave up. Every day after work, she visited Rose. She held her hands and prayed, begging God to save her life. Yet, Joy noticed something disturbing. Each time the doctors reminded Felix that Rose's chances were low, his eyes lit up. Sometimes, there was even a smirk on his face. Joy couldn't understand how a human being could be so cruel. He showed no sadness for losing a child. He showed no concern for his wife lying helpless on a hospital bed. Felix simply didn't care. Soon, Felix began parading himself around Rose's company as the new CEO. He told the workers that Rose was dead. And anyone who tried to question him was fired immediately. He mismanaged the company. He even employed his mistress, Ruth, as his secretary. Joy watched helplessly as the company Rose spent years building slowly crumbled under Felix's leadership. Every day at the hospital, Joy told Rose everything that was happening even though she knew Rose couldn't hear her. "Please wake up, Ma," Joy cried softly. "You can't leave us like this. You can't leave your children like this." Felix visited Rose only a few times. Most of the time, he came with Ruth. Standing beside Rose's bed one day, Felix laughed quietly. "Oh, my dear wife," he said mockingly. "After all your hard work, after struggling to be the hero of this family, this is how you ended up." He laughed again. "Thank you for dying early," he continued cruelly, "so I can enjoy all this wealth with the woman of my dreams." He pulled Ruth into his arms and hugged her tightly. Unknown to them, Joy was standing at the entrance. She watched everything. Joy covered her mouth with her hands, trying not to cry or scream. "This man is a beast," she whispered to herself. "Honey, I think we should start making preparations for her burial," Ruth said softly, "so that we can proceed with our wedding immediately after the funeral." Felix nodded calmly. "That's a good idea," he replied. They held each other's hands and walked out of the hospital like two people planning a celebration, not the burial of a living woman. Joy watched them leave from a distance. She said nothing. She only shook her head slowly. Every day, Joy took the children to school. When they returned in the evening, she made dinner for them before going back home. One evening, just after serving them food, little Anna looked up at Joy with sad eyes. "Auntie Joy," she asked quietly, "is it true that our mommy will never come home again?" Joy froze. "Who told you that?" she asked gently. "Daddy and Auntie Ruth," the children replied together. Joy swallowed hard and forced a smile. "Your mommy will come home soon," she said, rubbing their shoulders. "Don't worry, my darlings." She turned away quickly so they wouldn't see her tears. Meanwhile, Felix was busy planning his wife's funeral. He printed burial invitation cards. He went with Ruth to buy a casket. "Oh honey, I can't believe everything is happening so fast," Ruth said, pretending to be emotional. "It's only a matter of time," Felix replied with a smile, "before everything belongs to us." Back at the hospital, Joy sat beside Rose's bed. Tears flowed freely down her face. "Madam Rose," she cried softly, "please wake up. Your husband is already celebrating your death even when you're not dead." She held Rose's hand tightly. "He has taken over your company with his wicked mistress. Please wake up. You can't give up like this." Joy reached for a towel to wipe her tears when she suddenly noticed something. Rose's finger moved. Joy froze. She stared closely, but the finger didn't move again. "Am I imagining things?" she whispered. Or did her finger really move? She clasped her hands together. "God, please let this be real," she prayed. The next day after work, Joy returned to the hospital. She stood beside Rose, gently cleaning her body with a wet towel. Then it happened again. Rose's finger moved again and again. Joy dropped the towel and ran out immediately to call the doctor. Doctors and nurses rushed into the room. They ran tests quickly. After a while, the doctor turned to Joy and